Welcome to the Two Boots Word Vault podcast. On March 16th, 2019, Maureen Skelly organized an evening at the Walker Church in Minneapolis. This was a celebration of our ancestors entitled Seeing Them Home. Here's a part of that night with poems by Maureen Skelly, Rebecca Paradis, Mike Finley, and myself, Tim Young.
Brushing teeth again for my mother. I ask you to be patient when I am shocked seeing you put toothpaste on a comb to brush your teeth. When I am angry at the drinking straw protruding from the Lysol bottle. Fearful when we figure out your red cheeks are not rosacea, but washing your face in toilet bowl cleaner. In calm moments, I ask you to be patient. Then you resume a wise discussion of your favorite actress in an old classic, and life becomes, quote, normal. When, watching you hold a coat hanger to your ear, thinking it is a phone, I cry inwardly, seeing the watch drip over a ledge of time along with Salvador Dali in one of his paintings. I am playing chess with you and the mad queens in an Alice in Wonderland movie. I am open to alternative realities, Mom. Really. There is no puddle on the floor. And through my sadness, I feel an ancient circle moving forward, circling far back to our babies learning to walk, our children putting toothpaste on a comb to brush their teeth, and this time, us laughing. Prologue. The morning after your funeral, I am drawn to sit on the solitary bench by the lake. The enormousness of space in the absence of your form welcomes me. I feel comforted knowing you are in it. And I too would feel equally at home, being nothing, part of a cloud, part of a void, air in an upturned palm, a thought in the mind of a beloved friend. I have one more. About 20 years ago, my Aunt May died, and I had an attitude during that time. I remember I was writing madly about her death and funeral, and I was like gonna look death in the face and write about it, just snarly, like, some mother bear gazing into the west. So this is one of the ones that came from that era. Light, snow, a hot meal. It was cold the day of my aunt's funeral, parking in rutted ice, the luminescent light creating a shine in our footsteps as we trudged through snow to the coffin to cry, shiver, scatter flowers. A new quiet white draped the statues in solemnity, purity. Sacred in our grief, we huddled together in the wake of community my aunt's life gathered, touching the coffin for the last time, the last touch of flesh, fingers parting on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Our aunt now touches God. Casket lid shut in finality, the beloved body lowered into the terrible cold earth. Our mother, the earth, seems like Kali the destroyer in this moment. Later, the church women, volunteers weaving through our mad talking, no one paying attention to eating, quietly pouring us coffee, serving us a hot meal when need was greatest, Praises for these simple, benevolent acts. Praises for the church women, the statues of Mary, angels, snow haloed, the natural light in our footprints. Things of this world we grasp onto, notice again, that remain with us, with which we seek to fill a void in our hearts. Thank you.
When I'm on my journey, don't you grieve after me. When I'm on my journey, don't you grieve after me. When I'm on my journey, don't you grieve after me. I don't want you to grieve after me. We'll sing and shout for glory, don't you grieve after me. We'll sing and shout for glory, don't you grieve after me. We'll sing and shout for glory, don't you grieve after me. I don't want you to grieve after me. I've known that since I was a little girl, spinning the Chad Mitchell Trio on my mom's hi-fi. And they were accompanied on banjo by Jim McGuinn, who later founded the Byrds. Love that song. I still have the album. I was rehearsing with Chad Mitchell. But what caught me was the word shout. Growing up Catholic, I really never knew what shout meant. I thought it was the call and response, the hallelujah, the amens, but it's much more than that. I just finished a memoir called Holy Ghost Girl by Donna M. Johnson, and she grew up, her mother was an organist for a tent preacher in the South. So it was a very, very different life than I could ever imagine. But she said in her book, in the Holy Roller Lexicon, shout is another word for dancing in the spirit. Believers clap hands, sway, stamp feet, organ, trombone, guitar, tambourines, pull them into an ecstatic dance that wipes out conscious mind as the body loses control. So I wrote, shout. Dancers in the spirit, believers, holy roller, whirling dervish, Sufi dancer, rock and roller, Scottish reeler, children twirling, spin the spirit into a bewilderment of ecstasy. Dizzy now, all fall down, crying, laughing, shouting. Rise up, repeat. My idea of Paradis is to shout. Paradise. Well, that's different. Paradise is to shout in peace. I mean, you could rest in peace for a while, but then if we could shout in peace and then rest some more, I kind of would like that. So this took me on quite a journey. I have said goodbye to both my parents, my stepfather, many peers. And as I was looking for things to read and creating things to read, I organized my memorial cards for many years. It was very interesting, and of course I cried a little bit. And then I found some quotes like, "You can't take it with you," the title to Kaufman and Hart's play, or Rumi, "The grave is a veil hiding the communion of paradise." The thesaurus, I referred to the thesaurus for this, and they called the dead the invisible choir. And of course, our dear George Harrison, "As nothing in this life that I've been trying can equal or surpass the art of dying. Do you believe me?" And John Steinbeck, "It's so much darker when a light goes out than it would have been if it had never shone. And how will we know it's us without our past? Who still knows us from our childhood. I'm fortunate to have my sister here. She knows my childhood. I love going to reunions. They knew me from way back when. And Shakespeare, Horatio to Hamlet, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. And my mom had a beautiful Catholic funeral with a choir of angels singing for her. And it was appropriate for her. I have a little poem for my mom. Mom, 6/20/2014. It's been a year and a day since we said goodbye to the you we knew. Now you are folded into our hearts like a well-read love note, memorized yet still slightly mysterious. We carry on with our busy lives. Your children, your grandchildren, and their children, missing your brightness, we bring it forward in our very beings, being of you. And as I was getting ready, I looked up the word ancestor. Ante is precede, prior, before, earlier, in front of. Cedar is to go, so it's to go before. And I thought about my peers and people younger than me than die. When they die, are they my ancestor, or is that just reserved for family or whatever? But I kind of choose to think the going before is, that makes them all our ancestors. And one more quote, Yeats from Ephemera. Before us lies eternity. Our souls are love and a continual farewell. Here's a little poem I wrote recently. I'm participating in Cracked Walnut's poetry workshop at a Morey coffee shop on Annapolis and Smith, and this is a poem I worked on with Izzy, who couldn't be here tonight. She's the facilitator of that. And it was actually very fun to be somewhere working on my poems. I work kind of alone and don't, dare to ask anybody for their opinion because I might not like it. But I did like her opinion, and I took the poem, I actually cut it apart and reworked it that way. I know you can do this on a computer, but I had fun with cut and paste. And one thing Izzy said about it was there aren't many images in this poem, so I want you to hang your own images on it. To you, I can't stop collecting words, then carelessly arranging them, each phrase a journey. I am lost on familiar roads, seeing clearly it isn't like yesterday, this future I'm driving through. I got lost, but I got here. Thank you. And I have a few lost quotes to wrap things up. Leonard Cohen, if you've never heard The Tower of Song, go home and listen to it. This is a brief part of his beautiful Tower of Song. I feel so close to everything we lost. We'll never have to lose it again. This was in 2003. Lost. I am in the middle of forever, and I don't know where home is. 1992, this must have been at my grandmother Molly's passing. The goodbye grieves me. The good memories uplift me. And Don's haiku from 2015, this really has nothing to do with death. It was a boat ride, but it kind of goes, it kind of crosses the border. Don's haiku. Riverboat ride takes us around the bend, beyond memory or grief. Thank you. It's my great pleasure to introduce Mike Finley.
Rebecca Paradis, everybody. Rebecca, I love you. Every time I hear her read, you feel that she's giving you a gift. And and with such joy. And I love your work, and I love your kind and open heart, Rebecca. So enough about me. I'm Mike Finley, and I don't have any poems, but just for this event, I wrote a story that is a true story, and you may think, the way it gets started, that it's a very depressing story, but it isn't. And I'm not a mystic, and yet I experienced something very awesome that I will describe to you. 2009 was the year that our daughter Danielle took her life in the month of August. She had lost her cool at the pizza restaurant where she worked. She got fired that day, and then she got really drunk, and then she took some pills and went away. After her death, Rachel and I wandered about our house like ghosts, everyone wondering how to go on. Suicide just torches surviving family members. We didn't know what we felt, what to say, how to comfort one another. I should tell you at this point that I practiced this piece, reading it to my wife, Rachel, today, and we both just wept through it. I shall endeavor not to do that here, but if I do, that's showmanship, I guess. We didn't know what we felt, what to say, how to comfort one another. But here's the deal. While we were suffering and bumping into walls, other people were thinking of us. Danielle, our daughter, had a roommate named Anastasia. Anastasia was a waitress like Danielle. And Danielle trusted Anastasia's loving and noble heart. 2 months after the funeral, Anastasia asked to meet with me. She told me this story. She was at the Renaissance Festival in Chaska and ran into a fortune teller, a palm reader, that she had once consulted with. And her name was Delphina, like the Oracle of Delphi. Anastasia told Delphina something was bothering her. She had a dream in which Danielle was pleading to her for help. Out there, in there, wherever the afterlife is, Danielle was pleading for help from Anastasia. In the midst of the Renaissance Fair, Delphina and Anastasia ducked behind a tent and sat in folding chairs, and Delphina consulted the spirits. After a few minutes, she told Anastasia that she had, in fact, made contact with my daughter, but that she was a distraught soul, trapped between realms, not coming back, not going forward. And she was bitterly castigating herself for the pain she had inflicted on her family and all her friends. That was all Anastasia told me. I did not dismiss it. It caused me pain to think my daughter was experiencing torment in the next world. I'm her dad. My job is to protect my children from danger. But in this situation, I didn't know what to do. That week, my neighbor, Sue, stopped by for tea. Her husband was an evangelical pastor and pretty old school, and I tried to avoid him. But I always liked Sue for her kind heart and her intelligence. She believed in evolution and in the Big Bang. Major no-nos for conservative Christians. Sue knew Danielle when she was just a child, and she knew Danielle's heart. I told her the story of Anastasia, Delphina, the fortune teller, and Danielle's restless, roaming, unhappy spirit. I half wondered if Sue would frown at receiving a spiritual message at the Renaissance Festival, but she took me very seriously. Mike, she said, I will call my church friends and pray for her. Sue's Christian prayer group was 4 women who prayed for church members to deal with life's problems. Breadwinners losing a job, sickness, couples not able to get along, teenagers going astray, and that sort of thing. Frankly, people in the church had no experience with suicide. Evidently, evangelical children don't take their lives. Why would anyone throw away the gift of life? That's how they thought. I told Sue, go for it. What's the harm in praying, right? Several weeks later, I get another call from Anastasia. Mike, I ran into Delphina again. Delphina, the oracle, in a bar. She said she had news for me. She had searched for Danielle again in the spirit world and could locate no distress signals. Danielle's soul appeared to have calmed. So now I go back to Sue's house. I look inside to make sure the pastor isn't there reading his paper. Sue, I whisper to her, I just got word that the fortune teller says Danielle's not in pain anymore. Sue smiles again. Mike, the ladies and I have been meeting every day since you told us about this problem. We didn't just pray for Danielle. We spent several minutes each day pondering Danielle's predicament and praying for God's mercy upon her soul, praying that she might be given the peace she needs to forgive herself. Did you get any kind of answer? I asked. You just gave it to me, Sue said. You know, I said, she wasn't very religious. Sue shrugged. She was your daughter. She was your love. So you can see I was just a go-between in this business. I've never written it down before. The women did all the work. But when Maureen called to tell me about tonight, it struck me how this story is a story about seeing them home. What a wonderful and unlikely collaboration between different groups, spiritualists and Christians, that have not shown much love for one another through history. In truth, one side is best known for setting the other side on fire. It's a sad story about a girl losing hope and breaking the hearts of everyone who loved her. It's been 10 years now, and the pain has not gone away. But I took comfort from the notion of all these women, the waitress, the fortune teller, the praying ladies. They reached into the cosmos together to bandage a terrible wound. It is a story about how loving people can help one another to carry on, to see one another home, bringing a measure of peace where there had only been pain. No tears. Thank you very much.
long time since I've been in this space. Remember when we used to go upstairs and do the radio show 35 years ago? I've been in here once since they rebuilt. I think I told you when you asked me I was going to do poems about women, because as some of you know, I've been involved with Robert Bly's men's work for 35 years. And so I get an opportunity to read a lot of poems about men and men's life. But when Maureen asked me, I thought, wow, both of my grandmas were quilters. My mom was a quilter. And I don't get a chance to read the poems. And I have a lot of poems about the women in my life and a lot of poems about ancestral women. But I have to alter a little bit thanks to Mike, because this is also about our ancestors. And I changed my mind about one thing. So I've got to read a poem about my brother John. My brother John's house. In a dream, I went to see my brother John, dead now for 30 years from a tumor. He died at 9 years old, his head radiated and bald, his scar a tire track to his crown. In the dream, John's hair fell like long dark feathers around an adult face. In his living room, with its walls of coal, he introduced his family for the first time. His children smiled. They had his black hair. And his wife brought me biscuits and scones. He said, "This is my grandma's house, and I came to care for her garden." He wore the smile of a satisfied man who knows where he's at and loves what he is. I want to visit again to that house where John's wife served me tea from a pewter platter. But I've forgotten the way, and John didn't give me directions. You know, all of us, those of us who are artists and writers and that, just like everybody else in this world, we come out of dysfunction. Every family is dysfunctional. And as artists, our work is to find a relationship with that dysfunction so we can go on. I'm going to read a story about family. It's about my family shit, okay? This is stories in Grandma's Chinese porcelain. With our heads against her Irish hips, Grandma told us Goldilocks stories, or a Chinese story while tracking her finger on a blue and white porcelain plate. In the plates world, two forlorn lovers crossed white water on an arched blue bridge to an island where they transformed into lovebirds. And they flew forever in the plate. When I kissed her goodbye 40 years later on the day she died, I remembered the lovebirds. In her locking bookcase were the plates, and her copy of the Rubaiyat were safe and away from the children. When I learned her plates were neither porcelain nor Chinese, but mass-produced pottery from Ohio, it didn't matter. I had already crossed the Blue Bridge. Part 2. My wife and I bought a farm that once belonged to a potter. His kiln bricks are the walkway to an outhouse. Last spring, a friend told us how the finest porcelain, Ming Dynasty or Tang, was made from the fill of outhouse holes by potter families who mapped and tracked their family soil, sometimes for 500 years. They worked their fingers in the white clay, threw it on their family wheels, shaped it and glazed it and fired it until their stories were just right. All right. I told Mike I was going to read some portraits. My last book was published by Red Dragonfly Press, and it's titled Portraits of Rodeo Clowns and Royalty. I wanted to read a few portraits of some of the women in my life. So I'll start with page 56. Did you have a gumball lady in your neighborhood? Or a lemon drop grandma? Or an auntie who slipped a lifesaver to any boy who neared her pockets? Those sweets and candy ladies are now just pale moons orbiting the planet's co-ops and fair trade supermarkets. I used to take care of my Aunt Hattie. She's actually my great aunt. Here's Aunt Hattie's broken nose. As a bubble under every conversation, it comes up within 15 minutes. The story of her broken nose 80 years ago in South Dakota. Her horse leapt the culvert. She fell, blacked out, and the mare fled into the orchard. Aunt Hattie's daddy ran from his grafting, carried her back to the dingy house, and covered her with Mama's Norwegian quilt. Finally, she felt cared for. Aunt Hattie snaps that Clara, who was 2 years older, always claimed Daddy's lap. Clara was the family beauty with a voice of honey and the early shape of a woman. Clara's catatonic now. In the Britain home for the old, occasionally a breath-made bubble emerges on her tongue. Her eyelids are as still as old closets. Her sons, 2 husbands and her father, are all dead before her, but not her sister Hattie. When I visit Aunt Hattie, she grins, and her jowls swing as loose as stirrups on her runaway horse. Her bulbous nose is crooked and droopy, and her eyes twinkle like beads of sun on the mane of a horse going westward in and out of apple trees. This is 3 women. Once upon a time, an old woman dreamt of her childhood hens. She called her daughter who lived in the woods, and that daughter phoned her daughter who lived on the coast. The 3 of them deciphered the dream, one conversation at a time. Invisible cords connect them to one another, and to the dream, and to the hens, and to the eggs, and to Eve. I'm going to go way back. My first bipedal mother. Rift Valley experts tell me that in my bones is the memory of my first bipedal mother, whose flat nose and large brow seem frightening in a homey way. What they can't tell me is whether she dreamed of joyfully flying or swimming for survival or spilling a placental gift of imagination. This is called the banks of her bones. An old woman with more weight in her head than her body can bear bends to watch the path before her. The memories inside of her are rivers of time, eroding the banks of her bones. As her bodily fluids diminish and her flexibility wanes, her soul has a flight path for visions. Held by her flesh and the anchor of her family, her soul flies through the trees. She talks to monarchs and birds and streaks of lightning. She skates on ice as it melts to water. She goes in and out of holes in the ground with the shrews and the milk snake and spiders. As life consumes her body and memory eats her marrow, the mystery of her age reassures us. Her affection and patience are expertly active in a way I'm just starting to know. And I want to go even further back to the Sufi. She wasn't a Sufi, she was a mystic, Rabia. The first line is hers. Sufi, the wild woman. The wild woman says that love is an invisible ocean without shores, and wise people don't go near it. I say that the people in this room say, let's get wet. And you say, no, let's swim. But the old woman whispers, in that ocean of love, let's just sink. Thank you.